All right. So what are we talking about today?
CMA?
The CMA. What is CMA? Does anyone know what that stands for? Country Music Awards.
No. Yes.
It does. CMA Country Music Awards, right? Is it? Or what we're talking about now is pricing properties. And what I wanted to do is just to go through the system for doing this. And to start with, I want a little, I may have talked about this on Tuesday. Sometimes I don't remember what I said on Tuesday. But in the market we're in right now, it would be, I wouldn't necessarily want to get into an argument or a debate or a fight over price in this market too much, right? I mean, there's a certain, some of the agents I've coached are talking about, listing of a house and it's expired and then it expired again and now the seller wants to raise the price. That one you might want to pass on, right? You understand? Because we've tried it a few times and didn't get anywhere. So what I want to do is go through the process by which we might do a CMA and what might make this a useful. Does anybody have an address of a property that you would like a CMA done on? Now, don't everybody blurt out something at once.
Yeah.
You do.
The one that, the overpriced house that we're gonna sell this weekend.
All right, so you have an address. So what's the address of the property?
271.
271?
Yes. And then immersed, spell M as Mary, E for Edward, R for Ruby.
M-E what?
R, Ruby, Z for zebra.
Mertz.
Yeah, immersed, in Milpitas.
All right, in Milpitas. So 271 Mertz in Milpitas. All right. So if somebody called me up and they said, I want to sell my house, I want to know what it's worth. And I said, okay, what's the address of the house? And they said, it's 271 Mertz. My first thing that I would do, so once I've logged into the MLS, I would start on tab number 3 that's called Real List. Real List. And Real List is software. I'll make this so it fits a little bit better. Well, that's scary. We don't want to see that guy. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Come on. Come on. Okay. So this is what Real List looks like. And I just want to get rid of my picture. All right. That's what Realist looks like. Realist is software that actually is based upon software the title companies used. Back in the older days, we would call, if we had a listing appointment and somebody said 271 Mertz, we would call our friendly title company up and we would say, I'd like to get a property profile. And what the title company would do is they would run this little booklet and they would bring it over and give it to you. By the way, they would still do that. One of the reasons we don't commonly ask for a property profile is because we have Realist, and Realist is the software most of the title companies would use to prepare it in the first place. The advantage of having the title company give you a property profile is they're going to print it for you, and they'll put it in a little booklet and give to you. However, the problem with it, the downside is there are certain things that they throw in that I would not include. Right now, you're nodding, so you've seen the property profile?
Yeah.
Right, you've seen what they look like. One of the things that's objectionable, I know Gabe has seen property profiles, right? One of the things that's objectionable is that they include copies of the person's grant deed in the property profile. And I've actually seen people get angry that we have a copy of the grant deed. And they would say, why do you have a copy of my grant deed? How come there's a copy of my grant deed? And I've never saw the value of saying to somebody, I've got a copy of your deed. Right? I don't see what that gets us. And I've actually seen people get angry. Now, we could do all this from Realist, but the advantage of doing Realist is we can pick which parts we want. Now, some of you have already heard, I should have brought in one of the binders. After I went and bought some binders to put together for a pre-listing package. And so I would often have a tab in my pre-listing package that talked about market analysis, and I would print all the stuff, three-hole punch it, and stick it in the tab. Right? And you'll see what I mean. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the property address, paste it in, and this, you don't necessarily need the zip code and everything. Let's just see how many 271 Mertzes they can find. They can only find one. How are we doing? So that's the beautiful house, right? See all these tabs across the top? All of these, we can produce reports. Do you have a listing? Do you want me, I should do your house.
Go for it.
a
You
month.
want it?
Well, we're doing Mertz.
Oh, okay.
Right, but we could do two, right? So,
I'm done. I'm like, my hands in
yeah,
the air.
and it's an expired, at least, it was an expired listing, so we at least know what it won't sell for.
Yeah, exactly.
So all of these tabs we could print out. But what this tells us, the reason we want to start with this is that it tells us it's a 4.2, 1705 square feet, built in 1978, 5775 lot, single-family residence, and the last time, which is very recently, maybe it's on the MLS now, if it's currently on the MLS or it's been on the MLS in the last few years, it's going to tell you what the price is in the MLS and when it was listed. So in this particular case, we're dealing with one that's in the MLS. We're just going to ignore that, right? Because sometimes it would show over here something that happened 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or nothing, right? So the other thing, so by the way, on the phone, we should have asked them, can you describe your house for me? Right, so when somebody calls me up and says, I want to sell my house, great. What's the address? 271 Mertz in Milpitas, wonderful. Can you describe your house to me? And sometimes they're going to say, yeah, it's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,300 square foot home. Oh, okay. All right. Now, you understand what they just described is not what Realist says. What would be a reason why Realist would be, Homa has one too in South San Francisco. This is actually a real life one. So we'll do that one too. It would help you. Usually when agents suggest ones, they give you ones that are like impossible. But so we're going to do this one quick. We should have enough time to do Homas as well. So so to understand, we want to know if what they describe matches what this says. And if it doesn't, it might mean that the property had improvements made without the benefit of permits. Now, it might just mean that the county has the wrong information. Sometimes they actually do have the permits, but they haven't updated it or they messed up. We don't know. The other thing is it tells us the names of the owners. Sometimes the people that talk to us on the phone don't have those names. So what's your name? And they tell us the name. And I look at it and it's not one of those names. So who is Kathleen and Elsie? This is a fair question. And sometimes I've had people say, oh, well, yeah, that's my, one, it was a duplex, and she said, well, that's my brother, he's on the title, but it's really my house. Okay. By the way, I listed it and sold it. So she said, don't worry, he'll sign anything. Okay, right, you understand it was fine, right? But you understand this is should you pay attention to whether or not the people you're talking to are actually the people that are listed on Realist as having owned the property. Mm-hmm. So now we know this, and I will do a couple just for fun. We scroll down and we get a real AVM. Now, when an AVM is a what do they, those little things that you write on the sand dunes? Is that an AVM?
Automated valuation model.
An automated valuation model is an AVM, and a real AVM means that it comes from RPR, which is one of the things we'll look at, which is a realtor's valuation model. So automated valuation models are automated valuation models. Zillow is the most famous automated valuation model. All right. So our A real AVM says 893, 881. And real AVM range is from 795 to 992. That's a pretty big range. And it says a 5/20/2016 with an 82% confidence score with a standard deviation of 11. But you understand, we really don't know what basically the 893 is a middle number between that range. Right? But by the way, I would print this out to show to people. It's got MLS information, it's got maps, it's got now comparables. I would typically look at this because these comparables are using title company information. What kind of sales would there be that would not be in the MLS, but a title company would know about? What? For sale by owners, right? A for sale by owner would appear here, off-market properties. Now, off-market listings are supposed to go into the MLS and appear as a comp if a real estate agent did it, but if people sold them back and forth to each other without using a real estate agent, it would not show up in the MLS, but it would show up in a title search, right? Because there was a recording of a deed, and they have to say the dollar amount for documentary transfer tax purposes. You all knew that, though, right? Right? So we could look at these, and by the way, what I typically would do is print all of these tabs out and stick them in my binder, right? So there's market trends, there's neighbors. Want to know who the neighbors are? It actually has, oops, I'm scrolling up, names, right? So this is, Mertz looks like that's a pretty tight grouping there. And so if we scroll down, it actually will tell you, here are the names of the neighbors. If you want to know who the neighbors are, there's a neighborhood profile and the neighborhood graphs and charts. Now, and the assessor's map, you have to actually pay for that. And the flood map, you'd have to pay for that. So we're not, we're not going to do all that. So assuming that, now that I've done this, I'm not really going to tweak it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here and click on print. And if I click on customize, it's going to give me boxes to check, flood maps I have to buy, 6 reports selected. I click on OK. It's going to process it. I print them out. Just print the whole thing out, right? 3-hole punch it, stick it in the binder, right? This is not all, but this is, now again, I noticed when I was saying this on Tuesday, I saw some people nodding, just because you wouldn't read graphs and charts, and you don't think they're important. It's a mistake to say nobody else will either, right? Do you understand? If you hit an engineer, they're going to like the graphs and charts. So this is a PDF. This is there's 27 pages, right? And I would just hit print, send them to the printer, and I would look at the comps just to see if there's anything that's not in the MLS, right? But otherwise, we've got stuff, right? And we also happen to know what the size of the property is, the age of the property. Now, what is this? I don't want to. So, I'm not good at writing stuff down, but let me just see what I'm going to do here. It says, I'm assuming that it's a 4-2, I don't know why I'm doing that. I don't know. It's a 4-2, 1978. What else was I looking for? 1705. 1705. All right. Those are the big numbers right now that I can see that it's a 1-story if it's that small. All right. So I got that. Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to the MLS. All right. And what I would do is now go to matrix search. And I would prepare a summary sheet, but to start with, I'm going to go to map search. Map search. I'm going to take my 271 Mertz, and up here in the top right-hand corner, it says jump to. I'm going to paste it in and hit enter, and it found 271 Mertz right off in Milpitas. So I would then see these little guys up here. Right? Now, by the way, best practice would be, assuming you have time, if somebody called me up and they said it's 271 Mertz and I have an appointment tomorrow, I would drive over to take a look at 271 Mertz. I would take a picture of the front of 271 Mertz. I would drive around the neighborhoods. One of the things that I'd be looking for is what homes look like these homes and where the break is, right? Because when I'm doing the CMA, it would be nice to know whether or not we're talking about the same subdivision or some other subdivision. What else might I look for in the neighborhood other than just saying what the building types are?
Other for sale signs or?
Others on the market.
How about a for sale by owner? How about a not in the MLS listing, right? So will I know by looking at the MLS for sale by owners or off-market listings? I won't know, but they probably have for sale sites. If I'm telling the owner I'm the area specialist, is that what you're going to tell them? Yes, I'm the area specialist. You know, by the way, it's good not to get lost driving to your area of specialty. I just thought I would, right, you know, if you can't find the house in your area of specialty, would the owner expect that you knew what the for sale by owner was listed for, with the square feet, bedrooms and bathrooms, the off-market listings? So you would want to call them and say, hi, my name's Mike with Delavan's Realty, IZ, you have a for sale owner, could you tell me something about the property? And the off-market listings, you do the same thing, right? You would want to know as much as you could. Has everybody got that? So driving there, taking a picture of the outside and going around. I may not have mentioned this last Tuesday, but I always made a flyer for the house on the listing appointment. I already made, by the way, I didn't say all of this because we're going to do a class on marketing at some point. I would register a domain name with that house. So if this was a listing appointment, when I went to it, I would own 271mertz.com. I would own it when I went there. And I would have a mock-up of a single property website that had their address on it. I would have taken a picture of their property and I would have a sample flyer. What I'm doing is I'm showing the seller I'm ready and guilting them perhaps a little bit to list with somebody else. Right, you understand? I've had people say, wow, you looked at all that work. Well, he's got the binder, he's got all that stuff. I think I got some pity listings along the way, right? You know, they just felt bad for me that I did all that work, right? Anyhow, so now that we've done that, we're going to pick, because I haven't driven around 271 Mertz, I've picked, that's called the radius, right? There's a radius, a rectangle, a polygon, anyhow, that's a broom. And we're going to take that and we're going to go out. And what I'm going to do is something like that. It's a little more than half of a mile. And I'm going to let go. Now notice all those things that, what, do you have a question? What's your
So
question?
you're going about half a mile out from the center of the radius, right, in the distance wise. In realist, I'm noticing that it's going out 4, almost 5 miles.
Yeah.
But
But you see, the reason I did this is I want to stay between those two freeways.
okay.
Rather than, when freeways are oftentimes boundaries of neighborhoods. And what's on one side of the freeway doesn't always look like what's on the other side of the freeway. Realist is a computer program and not thinking about it.
Okay.
How far out do appraisers go? Well, not that.
3/4 of a mile.
3/4, more than that. They would rather be in the half-mile range themselves. But you understand, and I don't want to go right up to 680 or right up to 10 because the homes that are on the sound wall probably aren't going to, right? Do you understand what I'm doing by this? I'm looking for a neighborhood. Notice I could say, oh, I want that. All right. Now look at all those huge numbers. Now I'm glad we can tweak this later. But we're going to start with this. Now I'm going to go to criteria. I am recording this for those of you that are, So I'm going to criteria, and what I would start with is everything, active, canceled, expired, withdrawn, pending, contingent, everything. Is this a single family home? I'll click that. I would go to status change date, one of the most useful things on here. And I would start with, and what I'm doing when I put something in here, I'm looking at this number, right? That number says 1,488 matches. That's everything in the MLS in that circle from all time. So I go 0 minus 60, and I look at the number 12. So what it's saying is that there have been 12 status changes in that circle in the last 60 days. Right? I'm getting warm now. Now, I might just take a peek at that, but how many bedrooms do we have?
4.
4. I will do 4 plus, just to start with. How many, what's the square feet? 1705, that's right. So what I would typically do, especially I would say, all right, now you could just, we were discussing, I showed somebody my disc profile today, all right, because you show me yours, I'll show you mine. And I have a really high C, which I've been told that's an analytical style, which I've been told I suppress, right? I have another score from a more sophisticated assessment that says that I'm suppressing it. But for those, I'll show you what I would normally do if nobody was watching me. I would say 1705 times 0.9 is it's a 10% down, which is 1534, and let's say 15. 1705 times 1.1 is 1875, let's say 19, and I would say 1,500 to 1,900 square feet, taking 10% above and 10% below. Now, if you don't have a lot of C or analyzer in you, you might just pick 2 numbers and go with it, but I don't know. This is what I would do, starting with. Roberto, you like that, didn't you? Yeah. Now we're down to 1 match. You everybody see that? And considering this is an active listing, that's the one. Isn't that right? Yeah. Considering it's an active listing, that's the one. By the way, assuming we had more, so what zip code is this property in? Mertz? What?
95035.
95035. So I'm going to clear the map, and instead I'm going to put in the zip code 95035. Because I don't know if everybody saw what happened, and I can go back to the map, but what happened was nothing came up that was 4 or bigger within that square foot range. And I didn't even put in the age. You know what I do with the age? I would figure out the age of the house, and I would do a factor above and a factor below and come up with a range. And a lot of times when you do this, which sounds very scientific, you end up with nothing. All right, there's nothing that actually matches it. Now, if you're in the right neighborhood, like in Blossom Valley, 95123, there's a 1407 standard square foot William Lyons home. You'll find 10 of them that have sold, right? And you've got a high and a low, and they're all the same. You end up with an accurate range. But oftentimes let me just say this. Pricing is oftentimes more of an art than a science. I don't know if you've already gotten the idea, but we probably don't really know what this house is worth. So what I'm going to do, however, what is the age? It's 1978. So how old? Who was born in 1978? Let's see. There, yes, Russell. We all, yeah. You had a hard life. That's all. That's all.
Very hard.
That's all I can say. All right, so it's 2016 minus 1978 is 38 years. So let's say 35 to 43, something like that. All right, so we're going to just say, how about the 35 to 43? And now that I've done the zip code, there's only 4 in that zip code. Thank you, Michelle. There's only 4 homes in the zip code that even roughly match the age, size, and bedrooms, right? So what we can do is we could go back to so what we do then is we back out all this, I'm going to back out all this stuff because we're not getting enough to do a statistics from, we're going to go back to our map. We're going to do this again. And sometimes this, can take a little while. 271. By the way, did you notice when I was talking on Tuesday how many times I asked them what they thought their house was going to sell for? Can you Now, I could make just about anything fit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, oops, wrong one, clean it up, move that. See, now what this is showing me is what's happened in the last 60 days in that neighborhood, right? There's the house. This is what's happened around it. Then we go back to criteria. And there's 16 now, and I haven't qualified for bedrooms or bathrooms. Let's just take a peek at those 16. Here they are. Some of them have, look at the range in pricing. So what I might do, I guess this is a good thing to look at. It ranges from a low of 749 to a high of 1,500,000 something. Right? That's a pretty big range. So, but some of these are big houses. So let's go back to criteria. And by the way, what I would be doing, let's say the owner said, I think my house is going to sell for $925. So now I would be looking for homes between $895 and $975. I'd be looking for homes that were comped within that range. Because the chances now are I'm going to have comparables that match the price the owner told me. Now, this may seem insincere, perhaps even cynical, right? But I would, what is the goal? To get the listing. Do we really know what the home, I can remember when I was a relatively new agent, I was in Almaden, I had a listing appointment. The owner said, what do you think my house is going to sell for? I told them, right? And then I said, is that the range you were thinking of? And they said, no, right? And at this point, I had that sinking feeling, and they wanted like 30,000 more. And I did the go to the moon with you any price you pick, I'll be your agent, don't worry about me. They listed it with somebody else for 40,000 more than I said. And I was thinking, I'll get them on the rebound, right? The early bird might get the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. Isn't that right? And it'll expire, and I'll get it when it expires, and in 10 days it's sold for 50,000 more. The market had shifted, right? Yeah. By the way, I remember sitting, having a drink with a calculator, figuring out how much commission I did not earn because I said the wrong number. Does everybody Yeah. Does everybody understand? Do we know what the house is going to sell for? No, we don't know. We don't know. So if there's a range where we might know, but I've had people that say they think that somehow we're going to come up with some algorithm, something that will tell them what the house is going to sell for, and that's just not the case. Not the case. So 16, so you understand at this point, if I had an inkling of what the owner wanted, I would be searching within that band for comps that would support it. Because isn't that really what they want? They want me to show them a house that looks like their house, sort of, that has a price on it similar to what they want. That's what they want, right? Why not give them what they want, right? I listed a house in Sunnyvale for 1 year. I knew the family really well. They weren't going anywhere. Let's see if we got more people. Is that 35 or 5? I don't know. What are we talking about, Norman?
35. The zip code.
Oh, 35. Oh. Did I put in the wrong zip code?
No, in age, you put 570.
Oh.
Well, that only, yeah, fine. So, so I listed it for a year because I knew it was way overpriced, but I said, hey, I don't care. It's going to take a while, right? I knew the family. I sold the mother house. I helped the mother buy a house. I sold the sister's house. I sold the brother a house. They weren't going anywhere. 8 months later, the house sold. And what happened is that they lowered the price. Every new agent in our office got to do an open house in Sunnyvale, right? Because I had the listing, wasn't going anywhere, right? It wasn't going anywhere. You could do an open house. And over time, they lowered the price a little bit. The market picked up. It sold. I got paid $18,000. And I know this, if I had told them, if you don't list the price the way I want it to, I'm not taking the listing, I would not have made $18,000. Right? You understand? It was that simple. I said, sure, I'm willing to, let's do it, let's go. Now, if I had a whole bunch of listings and I was really busy, I might get fussy, but I don't think any of us in this room are in that position right now. Is that right? So now what would I do? I'm just going to do what I would do at this point. I'm going to click on results, and I'm going to select this box up here, and I'm going to make sure that all is highlighted. So I've highlighted all of the properties. Now, again, if I knew the range they were in, I would have narrowed it to that range, right? But I don't really know. So we've got everything all over the place. I could control for age, but now what I want to do is I want to go to Quick CMA. And the Quick CMA is going to instantly, well, depending on the speed of the internet, instantly calculate a bunch of stuff. And it's telling me, here are the actives. There are 6 active listings in that area. They've been on the market for an average of 21 days. Average square foot is 2,085. Ours is 1,705. Dollars per square foot. Now there's a bit of a range here. 401 is the lowest. 571 is the highest. Average is $504 a square foot. So if we are 1,705 times 504 per square foot, that's $859 if we listed at the same average that everybody else has listed their home at. Now, would it be good if I'm doing by the way, Michelle, this would be to go look at those homes, right? To go get my lockbox out and go look at all those homes before I show up at the owner's house. Is it possible the owner has seen those homes? It's happening here. It's okay. I'm glad to hear that. So, but you understand, listings are not sales. 21 days on market. Lot is larger. List price is $1,040,040, and the age is 36. So the average age is about the same. Notice it's telling us the age. It's giving us square footage. There isn't any, right here, this one, 1773, The lot is bigger, 875, it's a little bit older, 493 per square foot. That would, if we, you understand that one, it's a 4-2. Does everybody see the one in, that's a Laguna. It's a 4-2-1, 30 days on the market. It's a little bit bigger. They're asking 493.51. It's a bigger lot. 875 is their list price. It's a little bit older, but without having seen them, that one looks like the real competition, right? Because it's not just what property sold for, it's what are the choices. By the way, one of the things that I do with people is I would offer them a tour of the homes in the neighborhood that they're competing with. Sometimes it's like a cold shower. I've had them go, oh my God, this is nice. How much do they list this for? Oh my God, oh my God, right? Right, because then they're like, and sometimes they'll look at something that's way nicer than theirs, and they'll say, well, mine's better than this, and you want to bite your, because you want to say, no, it's not. So we have one contingent sale, 1484. If it's too small or too big, it's hard to do the math. 1484, 542 per square foot, 805. Pendings, 1773. That's an interesting, that's the average. 584, 32, and let's just look at the solds. And so the solds are bigger, 533, bigger lots, average square footage, $1 million, but 533.70 is what people got on average. And again, I'd be looking for something that sort of matched. Here's a 4.2, 1743, 1,040,000. 596. It's sold in 5 days. I would look and see what it says about that one, because now we're talking about something roughly. See, up here we had one on the market that's on paper is the same, looks like the same house, and there's $300,000 difference in the price. So you'd want to see that house. By the way, can you already understand the value of working a geographic area and actually previewing properties all the time so that you've seen? Would it really help if you'd seen all of those properties that are sold in contingent already? Makes this a whole lot easier, right? But we have to fake it. Is that right? We have to fake it because we haven't seen those properties. We don't know, right? Because why would we preview homes when we don't have a client, right? So we're not previewing anything. We're not looking at anything. And now we have a... So if we got what everybody else got, which is 533.70, again, we say, well, 533.70, 533.7 times 1,705, 909. Right, 909. If we got what they got, but we would need to read about these to see if we're talking about the same kind of condition. The goal really is to find 3 homes that you could shove at them and let them look at that are the closest in condition, size to theirs. So this is what I do, because I don't want to tell you, you get that I don't want to tell people what their home is worth. So I ask them on the phone, they say, we're not going to tell you. I ask them when I get there, they say, we're not going to tell you. What I found is that if I go through, this is what's going on in the market, this is what's happening, and here are 3 properties that are roughly similar to yours, and one's low, one's medium, and one's high, and I ask them, which one of these 3 do you think most closely resembles your home? They always point to one. And that's the price. Right? You understand? They've now given me the idea of what price they want. And then I would say, yes, I agree with you. That one looks...
How did you know, right? I'm thinking about it.
Now, I don't necessarily print all of this out. You could if you wanted to, but I definitely want to print out the front page. Right? But you could print, this goes all the way, all of them, you're going to get a little page on it. Right? I wouldn't necessarily do all of that, Some of them are already, there's 12 pages. I would print that one out. Everyone with me so far? Okay. So back to this, I'm just assuming that you, we don't know the band, we can't narrow it down anymore, right? I'm just assuming that. Down, now it may be for me not giving you the, see where it says CMA down here? See, it says CMA. If you click on that, it's going to allow you to make a comparative market analysis, which looks better. It's got stuff. And you go through this process. First of all, if the person is in your database, you put in their name and you create a new contact. You click on pages. This is going to show you all of the pages that you could use. You could click on them and move them over. You could upload custom pages, but if we double click, we double click, we double click, we double click, and there's a bunch of static pages. Those static pages are basic stuff that's included in the Michael Lewis Marketing Suite standard CMA stuff, right? So the reason that they provide this is so that, let me just remove these, restore defaults, clear. I'm going to just pick cover sheet with photo. How about that? I'll get rid of this one. I'm going to pick adjustments. Making adjustments is kind of scary, but charts and comparisons and map, and we're going to go to the subject property. Now, if the subject property has been in the MLS anytime recently and you have the MLS number and you paste it in, it will automatically pull the information on the property and populate the CMA. Square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, year built, all that sort of stuff. This is on the MLS right now, isn't it? Someplace. So where's the MLS number? I don't know. It's probably in one of these, isn't it? I don't know. Anyhow, so I'm going to just assume you can figure that out. By the way, it'll also pull in pictures and things. Is it possible that whatever was in the MLS last time was wrong? Right? They've done stuff, right? So that makes it nice, but we're just going to, there's a cover sheet. Now the reason that I went and took a picture of the house is because I can put a picture on the cover sheet of their house. Could I use the last MLS picture? Yeah. Does their house necessarily look like that anymore? If they've done a lot to fix it up, is this going to win you points to give them a 10-year-old ugly picture of their house before they put in new landscaping and painted and did stuff? Is this going to win points? If you could use Google Street View if you're too lazy to drive over and take a picture of the house, right? And you have to use a screenshot, and it's a little pixelated, but you know, and yeah, I would drive over and take a picture of the house, right? And you can then you upload the picture here. You edit your information. I haven't bothered with this because I don't use the CMA personally. You fill out your contract information. I don't use this either. There's a button here for comparables. I'm just going through this because I'm paid to. Actually, I don't pay me anything. So I can go through and click certain comparables that I want to include. I don't have to include them all. So by the way, if I knew the price that they wanted, I'd be picking comparables that would support that. There's, down here it says add from listings. See that box down there? One of my ideas is that you might want to do a separate search once you've come up with a price range, a separate search for active listings in the area. Now my point about this is that we as real estate agents are oftentimes looking at a house like we're looking through a knot hole in the fence. So we're looking at, remember that I pulled up that little radius around the house? If you were a buyer, would you be confined to that circle? Would you be open to other for sale properties between those two, maybe in that zip code? So would it be valuable to show the owner all of the active listings? Maybe not all the sales are more geographically centered, but all of the active listings in that price range, in that general area, so they have an idea what the competition is like. What conclusion are they going to come to if there are no active listings in your radius? They can charge whatever they want.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's no competition. We are the only one on the market. Yeah, right? But if you show them that there's actually 28 homes for sale that are in that general area that people could pick from, might that water down their enthusiasm to overprice the property, right? So we could add in this right now more listings. There's a map. There are adjustments we can make, right? It shows a map where all the properties are located. Adjustments means that we know what we're doing, and we've looked at all of the homes, and we know whether or not it's plus or minus our subject property and by how much. I haven't met any real estate agent good at this. So we're going to not make adjustments. We're going to go to pricing. Notice it has a summary, low 749, high 1549. You understand, I would really want to narrow that range down, but we're just doing this. Median 16. Notice suggested price is empty. I would not type anything in here. Okay? Just maybe I never. So now that we're done, we click on finish. And we can print it out, we can email it, it's a PDF, hit it, printer, and send it out. This is what's built into the MLS. By the way, many real estate agents have not even figured that this is in the MLS. Right? They'll do a quick CMA and right, they haven't even figured out that this is an option. However, let's assume that our competition aren't morons and that they probably figured out that this is an option, right? So what I'm going to do, is my search still here? Just want to make sure. My matrix search. What happened? Did I lose this already? Oh. I might have closed it before I wanted to. Let's just see what going back will do. All right, so I'm going to click on this button and I'm going to delete the CMA and hopefully it'll take me back to the search. All right. So stats just gives us some stats about what we have selected, which you could print out. It shows high and low of the different ones. There's ways of picking some other columns. We're not going to do that. What I have is something called Cloud CMA, which is something I pay for, which is why that is an option for me, but maybe not an option for you. And I'm going to click on Cloud CMA. It's like 30-something a month. And I'm going to click on Cloud CMA. I'm going to call it New CMA. Notes address 271 MERTZ. I could add a photo, 1705 notice what it's done. It's automatically imported all of the MLS numbers from my search. I'm going to go over here and click on Fetch. And I'm going to let it fetch the listings, which it's now pulling the listings from the MLS. And it's gathering data and it's doing all this. This is going to look a lot better. It's going to look a lot better. A lot nicer.
You can do this in RPR too, right?
Right, but this looks a lot better.
Oh, it looks a lot better?
I'll show you.
More than RPR?
I'll show you. I'm going to do an RPR on this too. So it's fetching. All right. While it's fetching, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to RPR. We'll give it some.
I like RPR.
So we're going to go to RPR. There we see where I saw that. It's called RPR, Realtor Property Resource Record Search is what it says. By the way, the most common question I get from real estate agents is, oh, oh, what's the noise that dog used to make, you know, you know which one. What was the noise? Oh, you, come on, don't.
My dog doesn't.
Now you're shy, now you're shy. So people will say to me, so when did they end that? Right? And I would say 1990 something. They're like, really? You're kidding. Right? I talk to agents all the time about RPR and they say, what? Where is it? How do I get to it? I said, well, you log into the MLS. Uh-huh. It's there on the right. You're kidding. When did they add this? Before you got your real estate license is when they added this, right? It's been there for longer than you can remember. So what is our address? 271 MERTZ. Z.
No T.
No T.
No T. No wonder it's not finding it. I was just,
There.
there we are. Notice how that's called an omnibar, right? I talked about this on our website. It's found it, and I click on to let it find, to search for it. Now, by the way, notice it also, zip down there, for sale was a choice. RPR accesses MLSs all over the United States. Let's say you're not a member of an MLS and somebody wants to do a CMA. RPR will do it, and it'll access their MLS and pull the information in even though you're not a member of the MLS. This is something not every program will do. Right? I am not a member of the Santa Rosa MLS. I guess I do have access to Bay East, but I could just go to RPR and it will do it. So RPR says last time it sold was really in 2016 it sold? 322, 917,000 is what they sold it for. They believe, they being the RPR, it's worth 932, 930. And you can click on details. They've updated it relatively recently. Their confidence score is relatively high. It says it's going up. And there's a little thing here about how to use this in pricing discussions. They have video. The property analysis for investors is really cool. It allows, let's say you have an investor who's thinking about buying it as an investment, to create different scenarios, aggressive, not so aggressive, give them different types of rates of return. You can put in rental numbers, appreciation factors, and it'll do a spreadsheet kind of analysis for you. Refine is change the value or estimate. Create a report. Let's just go through these things. The history, sometimes a useful thing to start with. It shows, by the way, one of the things to look for is there's red bars and things like that that would show notices of default, notices of sale, foreclosure action. This shows the history of the property according to the computer. Estimated loan balance is not there. They may not have one, or they just may not know. These are assessed value points. You can see that. What else? Charts. You like charts? You like charts? We click on charts, and there's 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 charts. Refined value. How refined are you? So this allows us to, it gives us the basic information about the property. Refine the value based upon any home improvements. Refine the value based upon home improvements. So what we're talking about is, let's say, this assumes you know what the other ones look like, and that they've done something that add value. Like what? Well, you click on this list, you see all these different things. They did a major kitchen remodel, and it's upscale. All right. When did they do it? They did it in June of 2015, and how much would a major kitchen upscale remodel cost?
25,000.
Yeah.
25?
50.
I was thinking of 50,
50,000.
but
20,000 for
That's my
cabinets.
cost.
that's his. He's giving us the wholesale.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, Kate said, give me your card. So what we've done now is we've added our $50,000 kitchen remodel. And notice what it does is it adjusts the price by 32. You understand, if you pay 50, doesn't mean you get 50. All right. All right. So what we've now done is we've modified our automated valuation model by putting in, we can do more, we keep doing this. Now down here, we look at it, are the market conditions better or worse now than they were when these comps were run? See, we could move the sliders. So let's say it's a little slower. Now it's changing it. The home exterior, however, is a little better. The home interior is a little better. The lot size is a little smaller. The view is the same. Privacy is the same. What this has done is we've now adjusted it $848.
That's it.
That's it. By moving, because I moved some of them in the same direction the other way.
Down.
So it doesn't make a big deal. So, by the way, the problem I have with RPR is you can guess already it's coming up with a dollar price, which it thinks is going to be fairly exact. So, by the way, here are the schools. Is this a good idea to know what schools? By the way, RPR has really nice looking school reports if you know the schools. Really nice looking school reports. I would use them on an open house, by the way. If you know the schools, you can run them and print them out, and they're really nice, comprehensive reports on those schools. So now that we've done this, we're going to go up to why don't we just create a report? I know it seems like I'm dragging this on. So we create a report. Here's all the different reports we can create. The seller's report, which sounds like what we're looking for, is around 90 some odd pages, depending on how many comps you pick. Did you hear that? It's like at least, it could be, if it was 16 comps, it could be over 90 pages. It's a long report. Property report is a little bit shorter. Property flyer, you're doing an open house, you don't have any time, you got no time. You click on that, what you can do is in a minute create a open house flyer. You have to give it a title. It's got your branding on it. That one picture, the map, you can't modify it, but it would take a minute to make an open house flyer. Right now, eEdge will make an open house flyer, it'll take longer. Michael Lewis Marketing makes a really nice open house flyer. It takes a lot longer. 1 minute, you've got an open house flyer. Right? Just thought I would share that with you. There's a property report, and many property reports were really designed for buyers. The valuation workbook was designed for appraisers. Appraisers actually use this software. Market activity and neighborhood reports are pieces of the seller's report. One of them has all the graphs and charts, and the other one has all the comps. And sometimes I would prefer to use them than the seller's report, because the seller's report is going to give a price. So what I would do when I use the seller's report, I would take that page and throw it away. All right? Because it's going to say, all right?
Isn't it a way to
No.
know how it?
No. You get all by the way, but if you pick market activity neighborhood report, you're getting the guts of the seller's report without the pricing. And the school report is, if you know the schools, you put in the school and produce a report for that school, put in the elementary, put in the high school, for the middle school, you get a report. So a seller's report is going to take a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click on Run Report, and then it's going to take a little while. And it's going to make a noise that sounds like a doorbell. All right, it's going to take a little while, but we're going to eventually have a 90-page, everything, every graph, every chart, everything you ever wanted, it'll be there. Comps. Now, by the way, What I did not do, because I just didn't feel like it, is I did not, when I did this, let's go back to the property details, I just let this run whatever it wanted to. If I go to comp analysis, what it's going to allow me to do is pick the comps. I should have done that first, but we'll see the differences. So this was a recently sold. Let's see, notice how RPR flags it. Days in RPR 18 days. It gives us, it sold for $538 a square foot last time. It gives us that information. So we go down here, we have to confirm the facts. And so what this would allow us to do, if we know that it is no longer a 4.2, it's a 5.3. So notice it shows us what the last listing said and what the county records say. So I could say, well, they made this a 5-bedroom, they made it a 3-bath, and they're telling me the living area is now 2,000 square feet. So what this allows me to do that the MLS does not allow me to do is to mess with it, right? It does allow me to do that a little bit, but I'm going to confirm the facts, and then now I'm going to go to find comps. Now, I have found that it is easier to find the comps in the MLS and then identify them in RPR than to find the comps in RPR. I don't know, maybe it's just an issue I have, a mental health issue, I don't know. But within the last 6 months is the default. Why don't we go to the last 3? Bedrooms 4 and above. Notice it's done its own ranging. For those of you who thought that my taking 0.90 and then 0.10, 0.0, was too much, it does its own range for you. Year built, I didn't put that in, but I could put in age range, built between 1970 and I could do that, but I'm just going to click on search. And what RPR is going to do is show me all. See here the doorbell? So my report has been run. So basically now this is how you can make it come right on the money, because what I'm looking for is if they tell me they want $1 million, and I know their square footage, I know what they're looking for dollars per square foot, I'm going to skip this one. I go down and I find comps that have matching dollars per square foot. Right, I've actually had people say, amazing, your market analysis is exactly the same number that I told you on the phone. What a coincidence. So I'm like, yeah, just you must have been psychic. So let's say we're going to use this one. We add that in. We're going to use this one. We're going to use this one. We're going to use this one, and this one. Right? Now what it's doing is it's showing us the ones we're using. Look at the range. Which one is pulling this? Which one's, we're going to get rid of that one and that one. Right? Those are the ones that are pulling us down. And so now look at our range. See how it got better just by eliminating some of the bad apples. And then we click on update valuation. And now it's going to print this.
Yeah.
We click on print report, and it's going to make us one of these reports with everything in it, which will look really cool. Right now, should I print it? I don't know. So the value of this is that even though every real estate agent has access to it, most of them can't find it. Real estate agents tend to be high I's and high D's. They're not detail oriented, and they're scared of technology, and they don't want to change because they would have to learn something new, and so they won't learn anything new. Right? I've just described more than 80% of all real estate agents. Right? And so even though they could do this, you understand the problem is that if your CMA look, they have 4 of them and they're all made exactly the same. Same software, same look, same feel. And you're telling them, I'm different. And they're like, yeah, sure you are. Yeah, right? So RPR, different, right? Even though everybody has access to it, most people I can't tell you how many agents don't know it exists.
You have to register though, with, with your login and all.
You have to learn to log in. That, by the way, the fact that real estate agents have to find their NRDS number
Yeah.
and put it in to log in, and people will just give up. Right? I'm not kidding. They'll just give up. They'll look at it and say, I give up. I don't know what NRDS stands for, nor do I know my number. Right? Did you know that you're supposed to have your NRDS number tattooed on the back of your neck? It's actually, no, it's a rule. So, and if you don't know what your NRDS number, when you go to Google and you would say, what is my NRDS number? Oh, look at that. It just, Google has gotten the search before, and Google actually has their own little box that they're giving you. They've had so many real estate agent asks, how do I find my NRDS number? And they first say it's on your NAR membership card. I have an NAR membership card? That's a shock. It's on Realtor Magazine. I don't even know. Or you could call them, which is what most agents do. If you click on this, you're going to find, how about this one below? Find your NRDS number. So I'm going to click on that, and in order for you to find your NRDS number, you need to know two things. One is you need to know your BRE number. And two, you have to know your last name. We go down here, last name, what?
That's the most difficult one, to find your last
And then, it's on the what? So I put in my number and I put in my last name. That, you can't use it. That is my NRDS number. So if you have that and you know the name of the association you're a member of, Santa Clara County Association of Realtors or Silicon Valley Association of Realtors, you know the name of your MLS listings, you too can register RPR and you get it free. Well, not free, you're already paying for it. You don't have to pay anything else. All right? You understand most agents will not do this. What else should we do? All right, so we've done Real List, we printed that out, we did the hot sheet sort of.
Cloud CMA one.
Cloud
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
I didn't go back.
You want to see what my
I
Cloud
do.
CMA looks like? Wow. All right, Cloud CMA, customized report. I didn't go all the way through because I didn't want to do it. I'll just click on publish. So it allows me to go through the same things. I'll show you what I like about this. It's publishing it now. It's going to take a minute. What else should we put in our little package that we're going to take to them?
Brochure services.
Brochure services. We're talking about just pricing right now.
Oh, just pricing.
So this is what you take to the listing, not put in the pre-listing?
I put it in the pre-listing
Yeah.
without a price because I like them to read about the comps. Well, some of the high Ds don't, but others will. What else?
Market update?
What?
Market update?
Market update. We haven't gotten to the graphs and charts yet, but you understand RPR is lousy with graphs and charts. So I think someplace I have an RPR one is open. So one of these, is one of these the RPR? I have no idea. How about this? RPR, seller's report. So this is the one I ran without doing the comps. My refined value. See, that's the page I don't like because I'm sort of stuck, right? So I throw that away. Home facts.
That's what you wanted.
Extended home facts. Look at all the little, it also, see, since I moved the sliders, it wants me to show the owner what I did. Right now, I probably won't include that either.
Oh, really?
Home improvements, they're gonna argue with me, right, but I might not include that. So, pictures, that's from the last MLS. Historical photos, same thing. I'm going to throw away some of these when there's duplicate photos, right? Graphs and chart, property history, assessed values. Look at all that stuff. That chart is there. This is a heat map for the area showing you, depending upon the color scheme, where the properties are selling, and it's a heat map, right? Would that look cool to an engineer?
Yeah, the color
Right.
scale,
And
right?
sellers report, active listings, price differential, sellers report, health and conditions. Right, now notice how far down we've gotten on this report so far. Right, you understand, we got a long way to go. Graphs and charts and graphs and charts and a market, and then now they're giving you a breakdown of each of the comps that you use.
That's ridiculous.
So what I would do is I would print it out. The nice thing is you have a big table over there. I would go through and push out all the ones I don't want and end up with the ones I do want. Right? And then 3-hole punch it, stick it in the binder, give it a tap. All right, now for our Cloud CMA, which is here someplace, this is what Cloud CMA looks like. First of all, they have this, what is a CMA? Now, more agents are using this, even though it costs something. It's got that, it's got the, office stuff, map of all the listings, information here, summary of the comparables, here's, And by the way, I can get a skin to this report that makes it look like the Michael Lewis Marketing Suite's CMA report. I'm not sure what a big deal because my binder, see that, I saw a presentation yesterday about luxury homes, and we could do this too, but what they were doing is getting these like little books, putting it in, binding it, and taking the book, right? Which is, I think, a step up from taking the file folder. I personally graduated, I think, from that to the binder with tabs. And if you're doing a binder with tabs, then everything doesn't have to look exactly the same, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you can't make the realist stuff look like RP. You can't, right? Because they're all coming from a bunch of different things. But if you're saying, I'm going to do all this, the idea of taking a little vellum-bound book, that sounds good. I can show you how to make the Michael Lewis Marketing Suite listing materials and the Cloud CMA match in terms of look and color, right? So your little book is all color coordinated, right? It doesn't have all the tabs, doesn't have all the stuff my binder would have, but you might say, I'm going to do that anyhow, right? And by the way, most real estate agents say I'm not going to spend $30 a month on the CMA program when I have RPR and MLS. Not going to do it. I won't do it. What is the listing worth?
A lot more than $30.
What's the major difference between the PR and Cloud CMA?
This,
I'll show you something. Something fun that I really like. I used to have to do this manually, but I'll show you something fun. Down here near the end, come on to the end, to the end. All right, this is fun. So the question I was asking but people were not answering was, what else would you include? Will the people look on Zillow to see what their house is worth? Is there others? Does Trulia have their own? Say yes. Redfin has their own. Realtor.com has their own. So one of the things that I would do is I'd go to those sites and I would print out the report for their house. Many real estate agents would say, you shouldn't do that. We don't want them to go to Zillow. They're going to Zillow anyhow, right? You understand? We can say, I don't want you to go to Zillow, but they're going to go to Zillow. They're already been to Zillow. What this does, and I used to do this manually, let's look at active sold. Okay, let's look at the solds. So, Berryessa Street sold for $980. Zillow said it was worth $1,037,000. Here, look at this one. Bellbrook Way sold for $1,040,000. Zillow thought it was $893. They were off by more than 14%. They were off almost 7% here, and this one is 10% off, and this one is 12% off. So you see, one way, before Cloud CMA added this, the way to prove Zillow is wrong is you take something that sold yesterday because it hasn't been updated in Zillow, and you look and see what Zillow said it was worth. Sometimes there's $100,000, $200,000 difference. Cloud CMA does that anyhow. So my explanation when people say, well, how does Zillow work? I would say, well, let's say it's your birthday. And I've decided that I'm going to buy you a pair of jeans. But I don't know what size you wear. So I'm going to talk to 4 of your friends, and I'm going to ask them what size they wear, and then I'm going to average the 4, and I'm going to go shopping for jeans. Is it possible they're going to fit? Is it possible? I guess it's possible. Is this an accurate way? Do you understand? Because Zillow's not really looking at your house. They're just looking at the ones that are in the neighborhood, right? They're looking at 4 or 5 friends in the area. By the way, Zillow will not say how they come up with it. And if you actually read, I haven't done this recently, they tell you that they're within 10%, 20%. I mean, it's if you look at what they say, and by the way, the guy from Zillow recently sold his house. This has made all the internet for real estate agents for, what was it, 100, for a significantly different than what Zillow said it was. In other words, the owner of Zillow sold his house for over $100,000. Let me just see if I can.
What is his estimate?
All right, so Zillow, owner, house, sold, let me just see. He's not probably the owner, for sale by owner, so let me just say search tools, and I'm going to go for something that happened in the last month. It's actually the Zillow CEO, let's just see. So here we are. Zillow CEO Spencer Rascoff sold his home for much less than his estimate. Yeah. So, and if you read it, it says he sold his Seattle home for $1.5 million, 40% less.
Wow.
40% less than what Zillow said his house was worth.
So it must be automatically.
It's an automated valuation model,
Yeah.
right? It's, do you understand? It's not. So, by the way, would that be something you might want to print? Do you think you could get into an argument with the seller because they're saying, well, Zillow's house, my house is worth.
Could it be vice versa?
Sometimes it is. I find them where they were 40% low, 20% low.
So how about Redfin?
Redfin uses, so what I would do is print them all out. All of them use automated valuation. So have I been saying that if you really want to have value, you ought to go look at the other homes that are on the market. You ought to be focusing on the market. It would help if you've seen the other homes that are in the market. Now, you understand, if I was doing the buy the pair of jeans example, and I've actually met your 4 friends, okay, would that make it probably more accurate that I could pick out which one of them looks like they would wear the same size you do, right? Do you understand that? So the thing that a real estate agent can bring that Redfin and Zillow and Realtor.com and Truly and all the others can't bring is that you actually could know what's going on in that market. But that would mean that you would be previewing homes every week, whether you have a buyer or not. How many homes do you preview each week? At least 10. That's why Roberta is selling homes. But do you understand, if your answer is I don't preview homes, why should I? I don't have a buyer. You understand what you're no better than Zillow, right? You're Zillow using the MLS, but you haven't seen any of them either, right? You might take more time than Zillow does because they take 2 seconds, But other than that, what you're doing conceptually isn't a lot different either. You don't know what the other ones look like, right? So go look at the actives to begin with. See if you can see the pendings. The solds are gone. You don't know what they look like unless you saw them when they weren't sold, which means free. So if you work, this is why working in a neighborhood or an area, you can be an area specialist and have valuable market information that they can't get on the internet. All right, so that went on for a long time. So would we want to print all of them out, Redfin, and what we're going to get is a range, isn't that right? We're going to get a range. Now, I put together something which I borrowed from somebody else. I think I've covered all these. I was just like, print out Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin, print them all out and put them in the binder, right? So people could look at them. What we're going to get from all this is a range, a high and a low, right? And even if they don't like the Zestimates and Redfins, will that, my listing in Dearborn, do you know what caused trouble, among other things, was Zillow's estimate was significantly lower than what we listed the property for. Can that cause a problem for a home seller? Right? Because buyers are, what do they know? They run a Zillow estimate and it's different. Should we know that? What Zillow is saying, what all the other ones are saying, and just throw that in as a part of the pricing. All right. Was that enough? And I didn't get to do Homa's, but I would be happy, Sarah and Homa, to help you with that later. All right, was that enough? Was that more about pricing than you want? By the way, one last thing, the MLS also has graphs and charts. Now, if you want the easy button, and what real estate agent doesn't want an easy button? If you want the easy button, RPR will allow you to go to a zip code. Like, let's go back here. So this is the easy button. I like to run custom graphs and charts from the MLS, but I know that most people are normal. What was the zip code?
95035.
So notice I've just put in 950, of course it's Milpitas, 035. I'm going to run that. So now I run 95035. I can actually run a report that has, I believe it's the neighborhood report. And what the neighborhood report will show me is all the graphs and charts for 95035. All the graphs and charts, right? All of them. If I run the market activity report, it's going to show me all the comps, everything that's sold in 95135. That wouldn't be a bad thing to take with me, right? It wouldn't be a bad thing to take with me. But if you want graphs and charts and you don't want to do any work, you put in the zip code, you hit neighborhood report, and you've got graphs and charts and graphs and charts and graphs and charts, and you stick them in the binder so that people that like data can dig into them, right? By the way, should you know our prices going up, going down? Should you know how many listings expired in that zip code in the last 10 days, 30 days? Should you know about price decreases? So the way you would know that, by the way, and I've got a couple minutes. Don't give me that look. So I'm going to go here to Matrix and 95035. So what I'm going to do is, and this would be a good thing for you to know. See where it says Market Watch? I'm going to click on Customize. And then I'm going to pick the zip code 95035. And I could just do single family homes. Right now it's doing everything, which wouldn't hurt if we're talking about the overall market. I'm going to click on Save. And what I'm going to now do is go back 7 days. And what this is telling me, in the last 7 days, there's been 12 new listings, 2 increases, 1 decrease, 12 changes the sold. So the number of sales and the number of listings are equal. There's 9 pending, 5 contingents, only 1 expired, and only 2 canceled in the last 7 days. That's something useful to know, right? We could run all those numbers through the MLS if we wanted to, but that didn't take very long.
Where did you put the zip code in?
I clicked on customize and then it allowed me to put in the zip code. I also could do the counting. And it only allows me to do like 7 days or yesterday or whatever. That's all that allows me to do. But if I went and I could do a search, I could tell you how many expired listings are there in Milpitas in the last 60 days. But I used to print that list out, and when this is back when I was arguing a little more about pricing, people would say, well, can't we start high and then come down later? Right? And sometimes I'd say, wow, that's a great idea. I've never heard of that one. Really? No, I know. I mean, I should have thought of that. You know, actually, what I would say is, you know, I understand how you feel, right? I do. I really do, right? You want to get the most of your property, you start how you go down later. Many people have felt the same way. I actually have a list of them. In our business, we call them expired listings, right? Here's a list. Do you think it might wake people up if you showed them a list of all the homes that expired in the zip code in the last 30 days? Because you think they might believe that they all sell, and they all sell for more than what they listed for. Isn't that true? Isn't it true? They all sell. It's all cash, and all. Isn't that right? They all sell. Right? And if you just go to search, I don't know why I'm doing this. Does everyone know how to find an expired listing? You click on expired, you put in 95035, and what I do, because I'm really lazy, is I'd go to change date 0 minus 60, let's just see, 4. So there are not a lot of expireds in Milpitas. In 2 months, there's only been 4. Well, that's good to know. Are you going to argue about price in Milpitas then? Are you going to fold your arms and say, you don't list that home? I'll walk. Pick another agent. I'd say, sure. Yeah. All right, was that enough? I hope so, because I'm worn out. All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome.